It's been well over 6 months since I have uploaded a video on a true top tier jet, so today we're going to change that, and what better way to get back into top tier ARB than to play probably the most handheld jet in the entire game, the Rafale. The opening clip today sums up this plane pretty much perfectly, I think, in what its capabilities are and why truly nothing at top tier actually rivals this plane from a competitive standpoint, and has not for a very long time. Its flight performance is absolutely ridiculous. I'm doing like a 30-degree climb, holding Mach 1.4 and accelerate even. I just do a little bit of S tapping to change direction up here at 10,000 meters altitude, Mach 1.4, and I barely slow down at all. And then after a couple seconds of just flying straight again, I have pretty much all the speed back. We're gonna shoot an F-15. The F-15 has really no idea I'm here. That missile doesn't connect. I don't even remember what happens, but that's not the main point. We find another F-15, and the F-15 has AIM-120s. AIM-120s might outrange the Mikas by a lot, but really that doesn't matter because all top tier fighting is at a fundamental competitive skill-based standpoint is this right here. You shoot your missile, you go 90 degrees or a little past 90, whatever it is, you pop all of your chaff until you defeat their missile, you turn back in, launch with HMD, repeat the process, and you do this over and over and over again until one of you actually dies. This is the only thing that is actually like a This is literally the only thing in top tier ARB that is actually like a measurable skill, something that you can learn and you can do repeatedly and always get a consistent result in determining if you're going to win or lose the fight, is how well you can do this. And obviously you do a lot of top tier killing by killing people that aren't looking at you at all, and some of you might find that a lot of fun, fighting people that aren't fighting back at you. So be it. There's skill in finding people that aren't fighting back at you, sure, but when it comes to actually fighting against somebody, that's exactly what it looks like every single time in every single plane. The plane that can do that better than the other one is always going to be the winner, and that's why the Rafale is honestly so strong. One of the many reasons anyways is because nothing comes close in its ability to do that. The Eurofighter comes a little bit close flight performance wise, obviously, really close, even probably even better. I don't know, it's been a while since I checked in on my top tier flight models, but the problem is that it only has AIM-120s, and the Mika makes up for the very marginal difference in flight performance, and it makes that up by a lot. It turns the tables in favor of the Mirage like 7-fold compared to flight performance. But then of course, flight performance wise, the Mirage is one of the best in the entire game as well. As you see, I just zip around in space going as fast as I want and can climb up to as high as I want instantly. Barely lose any speed doing it, and I can pick literally any engagement I want to because of my flight performance. And even though the Mikas aren't very long-range missiles compared to competition, you have things like AM4s, AIM-120Cs, AIM-120As even, R77-1s, all these missiles that have a good bit more range than your Mikas. It doesn't really matter, because unless you're just going to fly straight into them as the RWR is yelling at you for 10 minutes that it's coming, the range really isn't going to get them anywhere. What's going to get them somewhere is the flight performance of the airplane and how well it can do off-bore sight shots and get right back into that defensive position to notch the incoming missiles. Again, that is at the fundamental black and white standpoint. I know that top tier matches don't actually go that way. There's other factors at play, but there's genuinely, the point I'm trying to convey is that there's absolutely just no reason on paper to not play the Rafale if you want to win or if you want to do well in a match. It doesn't have the most amount of countermeasures by far at top tier, but it's got enough. I can't even remember the last time I ran out of countermeasures, or if I ever have in the Rafale. But it also has an extremely good radar, extremely good radar. One of the best, if not the best in the game. And on top of that, you can use the IRST to use your Fox 3 missiles, which is kind of crazy. It just data links to the radar. And in many ways, the IRST gives you added benefits over using the Fox 3 missiles with just the radar. So I do highly recommend that. You'll never see me actually doing it in these clips because I genuinely just never think of it while I'm playing. I'm not used to that kind of stuff still. A bit of an unk on War Thunder. But I do know it exists despite the lack of it in my footage. So the point of this video is, well, obviously we're talking about the Rafale and showing why it's the best plane in the game and talking about why it's the best plane in the game, hands down. But really the main reason why I'm making this video is because if I'm going to talk about top tier, if I'm going to play top tier, I'm going to think about the future of top tier, or really kind of the lack of. I'm not seeing much of a future if we've got jets like the Rafale in the game. For example, the F-15C Golden Eagle that's going to be coming out in the next major update. A plane that I think is going to be pretty cool. I'm going to be playing it either way, Rafale or no Rafale. As you guys know, I'm very interested in the F-15s, especially the Cs, so it's going to be an instant pickup. But it is a prime example of a new top tier edition that is just not really going to go anywhere. I dare to say dead on arrival, but really, if you take the Rafale out of the game, not even. It would actually be a good addition if you just look past the Rafale. The problem is, obviously, you can't. It's a real problem. It exists and it's played very frequently. You take a top tier jet that is going to be added to the game and really should be something that is going to be a good addition. It should be competitive without breaking the game by any means, and overall would just be nice for the update. But you take a plane like the Rafale and you completely ruin that prospect. It's just every addition from here on out, unless it's something absolutely crazy, the next power creep, the next game breaking thing, is just going to be some dead on arrival slop that really doesn't change the game at all. The only way the meta is going to change in top tier, or the tide's going to shift in top tier, is the next ridiculous thing they're going to add. For example, the Rafale wouldn't even be that good if it just didn't have Mikas. The Mika itself is over half of the reason why the Rafale is such a problem. Give this plane AIM 120s and all of a sudden it's just kind of, well, it'd still be extremely good, don't get me wrong, but it'd be more on par with the Eurofighter Typhoon, which is actually somewhat beatable in certain ways in the typical top tier match. Or at least I should say, wouldn't be completely game breaking. The problem is the only way to actually get past this phase of War Thunder is if we see things like the Meteor missile or whatever it may be, the F-22. Who knows what the next power creep thing's going to be that's going to finally put the Rafale out of business, but that's what's going to have to do it, and I don't think that that's a good thing. We're going to get the exact same story just told by a different person, and that doesn't really sound that much fun to me either. Let's pretend the F-22 gets added to the game right now, and its stealth capability that GAIJIN models makes it extremely hard to actually lock with your radar, and you can't rely on getting a lock from past, 15 kilometers. Now all of a sudden the F-22s are shooting at you from 40 kilometers away and you can't even lock onto them until they're basically merging with you. That doesn't sound fun either, but again, that's just a different version of the problem we already have in War Thunder right now. If everybody was playing Rafales, or if just half of one team was Rafales, that team is going to win every single time. And I almost want to say regardless of player skill, but obviously that's always going to come into play a little bit. But genuinely, top tier is already such a brain dead game mode to play as far as mechanical skill, as far as skill in general. A monkey could probably honestly do this. It's more of a luck based game. Luck in the sense, what are your teammates doing, than anything else. Your impact potential as a single player is extremely low, as I've talked about and ranted about before. So really what I'm getting at is I'm just pretty not hopeful for the future of top tier War Thunder, because the right thing to do would to be undo a lot of the buffs to the Rafale. Maybe add it to a later Rafale, maybe make the Rafale that comes out with, say, the F-22, which probably is inevitably going to be coming to the game, let's face it. Maybe that Rafale can be the extremely strong one, and we can have a more mild version, even with the Eurofighter, for example. This is the way it's always been, though. Power creep just gets worse and worse every update. That's been pretty much the case for the history of War Thunder, and it's just now we're at the point where the levels of it is honestly unavoidable and kind of funny. Looking at the Rafale just kind of makes it a little bit interesting to think about what the future is going to look like. What's the missile or the vehicle, whatever it may be, that finally knocks the Rafale off the throne? What is that going to look like? How ridiculous is that going to be? And how annoying is it going to be to play against? That's enough ranting. Let's talk about some actual gameplay for the very end of the game, just casually cruising at Mach 1.8, by the way, as we fire off these Mikas. I think this game I really didn't care about that much. I was going to honestly probably fire off almost all of them, if not all of them. Unfortunately, I get a Mauls warning before that happens, and I need to start defending against the incoming missiles and RWR and all that. But my early game salvo will net me a couple of kills, which is nice because I didn't do any work for them and the enemy just flew straight into the missile, which is always greatly appreciated. If you guys ever see me in game, please make sure you do that. Using the ridiculous amount of engine power and speed that this airplane has, I'm able to pretty much kinetically evade all of these. I don't know if I chaffed a single one, but really you don't have to. If you're flying around at Mach 1.6, just do a couple of turns and the missile is going to be out of energy. You're going to maintain your Mach 1.6 or even accelerate in some cases of the Rafale, and you can turn right back into combat like I'm doing here. I still have some RWR warnings, but I'm not worried about it. These are all going to be trashed missiles at this point, and I don't see any fresh trails. I don't see anyone necessarily kind of pointing in my direction on my radar here, so I'm not really worried about anything at the moment. These missiles, very high probability of kill unless they actually turn and notch them the correct way, but it's going to be a little difficult unless they're looking at them right now to tell exactly where it's coming from. They have a pretty short window to notice this, and the Su-27 sure as shit doesn't. Excuse me, the Su-30. I believe I also get a hit on that Eurofighter Typhoon there, the German one. He gets knocked out. And unfortunately now I'm out of missiles because another Su-30 is right there on my screen, nice and popped up for me to kill, well within killing distance too. Great range for the Mikas, but I don't have any missiles, so basically just gonna have to go back to base. I think about going to just shoot him with my gun right now, but I ultimately decide against it. After I land in rearm, an Su-30 pops right up in front of me, which is obviously suboptimal, so I'm simply not going to take off. This is the airfield without any AAA or SPAA on it, so I wait until he's going to be flying by me or shoots a missile, leave the plane. He should have flown by right now. I just heard him, and we lower our fuel because we're going to have to do something a little interesting. We got to take off pretty quickly, but there is still other players in the battle, so I don't want to necessarily take absolute min fuel right now. But he's hovering around my airfield like a vulture, and I can't blame him. I would do the exact same thing if I was him. However, I'm obviously not going to take off just to get shot in the back, so I'm going to wait a second here, wait for him to try to time it to where he's kind of flying past me right as I leave the plane. Quite a game of cat and mouse here. I know this is exhilarating to watch on YouTube. Lower the fuel even more because now I have a funny plan hatched in my head. I know I'm going to have to do something like this if I'm going to get out of this situation. I knew he was going very slow. He's going to be turning around for me once again. I gotta try to take off, get into the air, and launch my missile before he gets his nose back around on me, which I do. The only problem is I should have probably flared those R-73s a little bit earlier than I did, but we end up kind of getting the kill. I'm a little salty he crashed after doing all that, and I didn't get rewarded for it, so kind of rage in chat a little. Sorry about that. And now it's off to find the last player on the enemy team, and I think at this point in the match, I don't even know what vehicle he's playing. However, I do get kind of... oh, by the way, I didn't even land to get more fuel, which I probably should have. It would have made it a lot easier to finish this fight, but... finish the fight. But, I'm in a Rafale, so it really doesn't matter that much, let's be real. It's only one guy. If you're losing a 1v1 in the Rafale, that's ultimately a skill issue, and you should probably ponder. But he pops a blind hunt, unfortunately, which I wasn't exactly a fan of, and eventually he did get popped up on my RWR a little bit ago, so I knew roughly the direction to be looking for him, and then my radar finally picks him up here. I'm not worried about this fight at all. It's a Gripen versus me, and I am up at 8,000 meters altitude in a Rafale with 7 Mikas. There's absolutely nothing this guy's going to be doing to win the game. However, I could do something to lose the game, if that makes sense. So all I have to do is not lose the game, and we'll be GG. Shoot a Mika at him from pretty far range. Obviously, probably not going to be hitting him, but I do need to give him something to think about. I need to get him a little bit on the defensive. We'll even throw 2 at him for good measure. He's already got AMRAAMs at me. However, these AMRAAMs are going to be at such a low altitude starting out. They've been climbing a long ways to get up here to me. And the fact he probably wasn't going that fast when he shot him. I'm really not worried about these missiles that much. That's why you're not seeing any crazy serpentine style maneuvers or anything to bleed their energy right now. I kind of just gotta fly a different direction, and I'm pretty confident that these things are gonna be going too slow to hit me, or ever even catch me for that matter. So we just do a wide turn back toward the target just to be safe, and sure enough, the missile's behind me at this point. I am safe from him, and now I really should be turning my radar to the wider scan. I don't know why I didn't, kind of a misplay on my part, but I know roughly the position he's in, so it's a matter of pointing my radar at him until I find him. I don't find him though. He shoots another AMRAAM at me, and now I'm right back to the defensive, this time from much closer range too, so it is more scary. I pop some chaff, I get a little more aggressive with the defensive, but still, I'm in a Rafale. I've got a lot of chaff, I got a lot of speed, a lot of engine power. I'm not too worried about it. So sure enough, we evade another missile. He shoots 2 more. He is now out of AMRAAMs, as long as they are AMRAAMs, and I do believe they are. They hit the mountain, I think, and now it's just GG. As long as I merge with this guy, which we do, there's nothing he can do to win this 1v1. In fact, my Mikas are going to win the 1v1 for me, as God intended. I keep spamming them at him into the merge just to make sure he can't pitch his nose up to shoot me with his gun, because that'd be pretty much the only way I die right there, is he gets a lucky head-on shot or something like that. So we avoid that altogether just by spamming missiles. He tries to keep a fight going somewhat at all, but it's just instantly shut down by the Mika. Surprise, surprise. What do you guys think of this absolute abomination to top tier, the Rafale? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of not only the F-15C Golden Eagle, but all of the future additions to top tier. What does GAIJIN got to do to fix this absolute power creep dilemma on their hands here at top tier? Thank you guys for watching the video. For those of you who have been fond of lower tier content, that's coming very soon. I'll see ya.